Yo, 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 welcome back to the Further Your Lifestyle podcast, conversations on lifestyle, passions, and hustles. My name's Chris Furlong. I am your host, and I'm super excited to be back here having the conversation with you. Episode 90 today. We're so close to episode 100, and today we're talking about this statement that I'm going to read out to you. Just because it is competitive doesn't mean you don't compete. Now, I get frustrated when people say, oh, it's too hard, or they make all these excuses, and, they don't even bother starting because they think it's not worth it, or it's too saturated, or too many other people are doing it. I think this is all false, and I think this is all lies, and I think you can go into something knowing that there is competition, but still be prosperous. And in this episode, what we're going to be talking about today is how to understand what you are up against, how to face the odds, and to leverage the chances you have, aka we all have an unfair advantage, and then finally, basically to sum all this up, we're essentially doing a SWOT analysis with life and making decisions. And a SWOT analysis, if you don't know what that is, that's basically going through strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. And it's something usually we use in business in terms of, tools to help us enter a market, but also to revisit and see how do we continue to elevate and grow. And that's what we're going to be jumping in today. So buckle up and let's dive in. So, as I said before, too many times I hear people say that they don't want to get into something, usually in an area of business, but sometimes they don't want to, start something because it's too competitive. The market is saturated. It's too hard to compete with the big guns, or the 1%, or the people at the top, or why bother when you don't stand a chance? Now, I disagree with this. I really, really disagree with this because there is so much opportunity out there and so much untapped potential that we can unlock, that you can unlock. And there is a difference between, I guess, competing against the competition, going in blind, versus going in with a plan. Understanding what are you going into play against? What's the playing field look like? Understanding the challenges that you will be up against. And there's a way to mitigate against that. There's a way to manage against that, right? There's a way to manage the risk of entry, meaning mitigating the issues, the risks, the challenges that you will potentially face. So with this tool, using the SWOT analysis, this blueprint, or I guess this old school exercise, which a lot of people kind of neglect these days, you too can figure out ways that you can enter into whatever it is that you want to be, whether it's a new career or whether it's, a business. But this way you can figure out, what is the best way to enter into that, and what are you going to have to potentially face with a better understanding, both personally and externally to yourself. So, as I said before, this could apply, and it's not limited to, but it could be a new job, it could be a career, it could be a business or side hustle, it could be training for a competitive event, it could be life in general as you embrace and try new things. What is this tool? If you didn't click before, it is the SWOT analysis. And it's a quadrant of sorts where you can review and understand through a series of questions of what are your strengths, what are your weaknesses, what are your opportunities, and what are your threats. You can then also do this process not focused on you, but whatever or whoever it is that you're trying to compete against. Meaning you could do it in a reverse engineering perspective, knowing how you can identify what their strengths are, what their weaknesses are, what their opportunities are, and what their threats are. Now, a lot of it will overlap, but it can help reveal some gaps. But first, we're focusing on you. That is what this episode is about. Focusing on you, helping you be mindful and intentful with this process. And you need to be. You need to be mindful and intentful with this process. We're going to do it together. I'll take you through it. You can grab a pen, paper, whatever, or you can just be listening and just try and jot it down in your head. But pen and paper is going to help you a lot more. I'll take you through the steps. We'll make this happen for you. Are you ready? Let's do it. So the first thing that you're going to do is actually understand and identify, what are we solving for? What is it that you're entering into this analysis to assess? What are you needing to assess? Is it the new job? Is it a career? Is it a business? Is it a side hustle? Is it training to be competitive, like in a competitive event, like an athlete? Is it life in general as you embrace and try new things? You need to pick what it is. I can't answer that for you. You have to pick it. And if you're not sure, have a think, pause, and come back. So I'm going to do mine in the lens of business. My business is a reselling business. If you don't know that, basically I buy and sell things online. And we're going to go through this. So what are my strengths? What do I bring to the table? We're starting with strengths. What are the advantages that I have? Now I'm going to read this out to you. So strengths usually are things that, what are you doing well? Or what can you do well? What sets you apart? What are your good qualities? And you put that into the lens of whatever it is that you're going into. So for me, My background is project management experience. I've gotten that for 7 years, worked for a Fortune 500 company for 9 years, and during that, I've been able to gain a lot of experience with managing monthly budgets and forecasts, a lot of dollars, risk management, governance, process controls, all that jazz. And that works really, really well when it comes to business. And I also love numbers. I was focused on numbers. I was focused on KPIs and meeting objectives on a monthly basis. So that has enabled me once again to be really good when jumping into a business. I've actually had 5 of my own businesses over a period of time. Some have gone really well, some have failed, and some they just weren't for me. But regardless, I've gained know-how, I've gained experience, knowledge, and understanding. The other one is I've always been flipping items as a kid, as a hobby since I was 12. So I've done it before and I understand the concept of turning flipping into more of a reselling business. I also have interest in pop culture, sci-fi, and personal interests, of which I know have a value of stuff, meaning I can leverage that and go apply that and sell it myself. And I'm a people person. I love to connect and help and share. They're all the strengths that I can bring to this table. And it's going to be different for you. You're not going to necessarily have all these. And don't compare to me because we're not talking about the same thing. What strengths do you bring to the table? Understand them, jot them down. Now we're going to jump up to weaknesses. Now weaknesses, it's like, where do you need to improve? Are your resources adequate? What don't you have access to? So these are weaknesses, and you need to be real about this. It's a reality check, but where do you struggle? What do you lack? Now, for me, I'm a big dreamer. You know, if you've listened to the podcast, you know that I talk about long-term thinking, and sometimes I can dream big too quick. If I don't do the analysis of understanding, expectations, then I can kind of burn myself quite quickly. But I also can sometimes get stuck in analysis paralysis, meaning I can become so focused on the issues and overthink things. These are not all, and these are just some of the obvious ones and examples, but this is the reality. You need to understand what are your weaknesses before going into whatever it is you're about to venture into. The next one is opportunities. What are your goals? What demands are shifting? How can it be improved? What's the gap that you're solving for? What is an untapped area that, people aren't putting attention on? So opportunities, what is available to you? What options do you have that maybe others don't? What is your ambition? Your ambition gives you opportunity. It motivates you. So for me, I have very few competitors in my direct area. I have some access to people that can work for me and look on my behalf. I also have access to some free postage fillers and free postage supplies, which, not other people have. But I've also got, opportunities around, I've got experience, I've got some connections, I'm a people person. I've had those conversations before. So I've built relationships that I can lean onto. So these are current ones, and, they've changed over time and they will continue to change. So for you, what do you have? What opportunities do you have? The next one is threats. And this is essentially, what is something which can slow you down? Something that might limit you to grow, or something that might become a bit of a stumbling block. Now, threats usually, what are blockers that you face, or what are some of the factors outside of your control that you need to be mindful of? And for me, some of this in the recent time, especially this year, has been rising prices. Costs have been going up. The pressure of costs are going up. CPI, there's people struggling to be able to purchase things. So meaning it's not really a buyer's market, but at the same time, it is. So how do I leverage that? How do I pivot to that? The other threat is supply versus demand in sourcing areas. Is there enough supply? Is there enough demand? That's all changing. The other one was, and it's no longer a threat to me, was storage. I was running out of space. How do I do this? Another threat is like time management. A threat is doing all this yourself. Think about, for you, what are the threats into whatever it is you're going into. Now, this is short and sweet, but the importance of this episode is essentially to, help you apply yourself with a tool to help you get ahead, right? So take this and ask yourself these questions. This is what you need to make sure you take away after doing the SWOT analysis, is you need to think broad with it. You need to think outside of the box. How does it apply to you? How does it apply to your environment, your world, your ecosystem? What do you have to offer? What do you have access to that other people don't, right? What do you need to be mindful of? What are the things that you should be putting down as potential risks, potential things that will be threats? What is going to be something that's going to slow you down? It could be personal, it could be external. Think about it. These are the questions you need to ask yourself as you go through this process. I hope this gives you some insight. I hope it gives you some kind of, get out there and give it a go. And also to change your mindset around, don't let other people's progress or them being further along the journey stopping you from starting. Because just because someone is ahead, like I'm ahead of someone if they haven't started today in reselling. I'm 2 years ahead. That doesn't mean they shouldn't start. There's plenty of opportunity out there. There's different things that they can bring to the table. Hey, I see new people start all the time and I think, wow, I wish I was doing that when I was starting. The beauty is I'm sharing my journey. They can learn from me. They can leverage that and now apply it in their own lens. You can do that in any other field that you're doing. If you want to start running, if you're trying to get into a new job, go find out what the people that are ahead of you are doing and find the gaps, find how to do it better. Learn from them and use that as your advantage. All right, enough from me. Really do appreciate being here. If you do have any questions, comments, thoughts, more than happy to continue the conversation. You can reach out to me. Socials are in the description below in the show notes. Otherwise, best place to reach me is on Instagram at Further Your Lifestyle. If you are watching this on the YouTube, you can also leave a comment, and that's a really great way that we can connect too. I hope this has been of value to you. I've enjoyed this. That's it from me, and you have a wonderful day. Cheers. Now, if you didn't know, we do have the podcast merch, and this is with a key focus of enamel pins. Now, if you haven't checked these out, make sure you do, because the intent of these are really just to be a small token and a reminder for you to charge on, to push on, and to further your lifestyle. Whether it is a gift for someone else to encourage them or maybe to inspire them, or maybe it's a way to motivate yourself, or you can simply just make a purchase to simply support the podcast, which would be greatly appreciated. We do also have some sweaters and some long tees, so make sure you check it out. Link in the description and in the show notes. Really do appreciate it. Cheers.